Now, understand when you look at Golden State, you might see guys playing a little better together and all of this other stuff. There's more distribution of the basketball. Steph Curry can step up and be more aggressive with shot selection as opposed to being more judicious and diplomatic because he's got two other people to share with. Draymond Green doesn't have to sacrifice as much as his offensive game in order to facilitate things for the Kevin Durant and to a lesser degree the Boogie Cousins. I get all of that. But here's how I think everybody's looking at it backwards. Did it ever occur to everybody that Kevin Durant is so great, that's why you have to modify things? It's not like you have to modify things to make the team better. Kevin Durant is so phenomenal. Kevin Durant is so great. That's why modification is necessary. Because if he wasn't that great, then you bring him on board. All right, figure out a way to fit in with Steph and Clay. But no, Steph and Clay had to figure out how to get Kevin Durant fitted in. Kevin Durant didn't go to Golden State begging the Warriors to come. Iguodala and Draymond and Steph and Clay, they went to the Hamptons. They flew to the Hamptons to talk Kevin Durant into coming to Golden State. What y'all talking about here? That's what they did. What you doing that for? You know why? Because you had lost the championship to Cleveland, even though it was via a stimulus package given to Cleveland by Adam Silver in the NBA league office by suspending Draymond Green for that bogus kick after LeBron James shoved him to the floor. But that's neither here nor there. In the end, what it comes down to is Kevin Durant is so great, he's so phenomenal, that you felt compelled to make adjustments and modifications to appease him. You know why? Because it don't matter where Kevin Durant is. He always going to give you 27 a night. On 49% shooting or better. On 38% shooting from three or better. That's Kevin Durant.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Now drop some smooth lyrics. It's 88. Time to set it straight, you know what I'm saying? There ain't no half-stepping. Word. I'm ready. Rappers stepping to me, they want to get some, but I'm the king, so you know the outcome, another victory. They can't get with me, so pick a BC date, cause your history. ESPN Radio, Stephen A. Smith Show recognizes National Military Appreciation Month, brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union, proudly serving the armed forces, the DOD, veterans, and their families for over 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA. 31 minutes past hour number one, back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, coming at you live from Toronto, Canada, site of Game 4, last night's Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals, in which the Toronto Raptors won. After this, I'll be heading to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for Game 5 tomorrow night. Looking forward definitely to doing that. 888-SAY-ESPN, it's 888-729-3776. Until then, let's get to the phones, y'all. Let's go to Jason. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Jay?
Hey, what's good, Stephen A?
I'm good. Talk to me.
I just want to say, going back to the, Kevin Durant's agent pushing out that he's 100% undecided on where he's going to go this season, I feel like that could just be a tactic being used by his camp, just to not make a lot of noise. But I feel like he got his mindset on New York.
Okay, because I was getting ready to ask you. I mean, we're not blaming him for taking that position, are we? I mean, I got to admit to you, if I was in Kevin Durant's position, if I was in Rich Kleiman's position, I wouldn't admit a damn thing until the season's over. Could you imagine the headlines, the storylines, if Kevin Durant, if it were revealed, Kevin Durant has made this decision, and he said, I made the decision, but he didn't tell anybody what it was while the NBA playoffs are going on, he'd be eviscerated. Rich Kleiman and Kevin Durant are doing the absolute right thing by not saying a damn word. They're absolutely right.
But what like really shocked me was like all this social media activity that like he's been like doing.
So
I feel
what?
like I feel like that could make him look like he's like maybe breaking under all this pressure that he's facing about this
Well,
decision.
stop right there. Stop right
And
there. Stop. Not true. You know why it's not true? Because Kevin Durant's been commenting on social media for the last couple of years. The man got busted for having a fake Twitter account, for crying out loud. The man's been commenting on social media. He's always had an insatiable appetite to push back. It's just now he ain't hiding it. But he's always been doing it. So it's not like, oh my God, there's all of a sudden a breakdown of psyche because he is communicating on social media. And oh, by the way, I don't mind him doing it at all. You know why? Because we are talking basketball. That's why. Kevin Durant, listen. Kevin Durant is one of the greatest players we've ever seen on the planet. We can agree or disagree with him all day, every day. You have any idea what a privilege it is to talk basketball with him? He doesn't have to do it. He doesn't have to do it. I've disagreed with Kevin Durant. I've argued with Kevin Durant. Just like my man Chris Broussard is arguing with him. And Kevin Durant can be raw and he can get right at you. But you know what? It's all love. Because that brother's all world. He's arguably the greatest player on the planet right now. And as far as I'm concerned, it is a privilege. Because he doesn't have to talk basketball to think about that, y'all. Kevin Durant doesn't have to explain basketball to people. He didn't have to sit there in front of the media when we were getting on him about Patrick Beverly getting the better of him. And he said, I couldn't get into a one-on-one battle with him, but I'm Kevin Durant. Y'all know who I am. You know who I am. You damn right we do. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to tell us that. And I think that it's important, whether we agree or disagree, when the man is talking basketball, I would hate people, literally hate them, if they did to me what they're doing to him. Argue with him about his basketball points. Don't get into some psychology about him communicate. Why does he have to communicate on Twitter? Why does he have to respond? Because he's a basketball player and he wants to talk basketball. That's what he loves to do. And if he sees debate shows going on all over the place with people giving commentary and he feels, whether it's me, it's Chris Broussard or anybody else, if he feels we're wrong or we're misinformed, as long as we're talking about basketball, what's the problem? What's the problem? Let's argue about basketball. But we should never fail to appreciate. We should never fail to appreciate the fact that one of the greatest players who has ever lived, who will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, who would be on anybody's new top 50 list of greatest players of all time. We should never fail to recognize and appreciate the fact he does not have to talk to us about basketball. Could you imagine if Michael Jordan talked to you about basketball? Could you imagine if LeBron James went on Twitter and argued with you about basketball? You have any idea what a privilege that is? They don't have to acknowledge you. So when they're doing it, let's argue with them about the subject at hand rather than trying to become Dr. Phil or Dr. Ruth or somebody and psychoanalyze the agenda behind what they're saying. When Kevin Durant goes on social media or he does an interview with somebody and he breaks down how if you are an average or medium player, playing with LeBron James is a dream, but if you are a superstar in your own right, playing for him would be toxic. Let LeBron trip over the word toxic all he wants to. He has that right. Let us focus on the basketball analysis and the basketball breakdown that Kevin Durant gave us. He's one of the greatest players in the world. How is it that we have a license to talk basketball, but one of the people who plays it at an elite level and entertains us with his greatness doesn't get to talk about basketball? What sense does that make? That makes no sense. So let's argue with him about basketball, but let's not get into, oh, he might be losing it because he's commenting on social media. Well, what the hell else does he have to do? He's playing. When he's playing, you're only playing 2 hours a day. If you're practicing 3 hours a day. He ain't working 9 to 5s like us. He's set for life, so feeding his family ain't a problem. Paying bills ain't a problem. Why would we take that passion away from one of the greatest to talk about what he's great at? Why would we do that, sir? Why would we do that, Jason?
And there's nothing wrong with that. All I'm saying, but like what I'm referring to is that under an Instagram post, Warriors fan made a valid comment, a very valid argument, and he like responded in a very confrontational manner. So that's what
About
really confused
basketball.
me.
Hold on. About basketball. He didn't threaten to beat nobody up. He was arguing his point. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
You right. Nothing.
Have a nice day. I'm telling you, we've lost our ever-loving minds. We really, really have. So let me get this straight. I'm Stephen A. Smith. I've been covering basketball for 25 years. I get to have a 2-hour television show and a 2-hour radio show talking basketball. Let me be very clear. I played basketball at Winston-Salem State. I couldn't shine the bottom of Kevin Durant's shoes as a basketball player. Couldn't shine the bottom of his shoes. But I get to talk. We got people who've never played because I'd destroy them. They ain't never played nothing. They get to talk. We got players who play collegiately but never pros. They get to talk. We got pros who couldn't shine the bottom of Kevin Durant's shoes. They get to talk. But one of the greatest players we've ever seen with the human eye, one of the greatest offensive forces the game of basketball has ever known, argues, albeit abrasively from time to time, nevertheless arguing about basketball. And y'all got a problem with that. Really? Really? I really don't get it. We have lost our way. We have lost our way. One will say, oh, he responded aggressively. Well, he thinks you ignorant. And you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So he confronted you about it, but about basketball. What's the problem? What's the problem? I see no issues with Kevin Durant commenting about basketball. He's more qualified than us to do it. He most certainly is. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with more of your calls in a minute. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard.